Let's try that. Is that any better? So thank you and welcome to today's ZENcast. We are working on Service Desk migrating from version 8.2 to 8.3. I'll just talk a little bit louder if I have to. I'm the product manager for ZENworks Service Desk, and we are going to cover some of the ZENworks stuff for doing a migration. And we thank you for being here, and we meet every first and third Tuesday of every month at 9 o'clock Mountain Time. And thanks, Don, for confirming that. And we'll be here. We go through different things about the ZENworks product line in the portfolio. So some of the things we talk about, there are detailed recordings, so you can see all the different products and what we've recorded in the past out on the Micro Focus. We go full screen here. And out on the YouTube channel for Micro Focus support and training, we have the ZENworks ZENcast and Service Desk and desktop containers. And you could find all the ZENcasts here, but if they relate to one of these other products, they're also in those particular playlists. So you can find those there. So a little bit of house cleaning. Be sure to subscribe to and you'll get notifications for when we go live. So that way you can set a few things down and get ready for it. We normally do it at the top of the hour, but we start off about 20 minutes prior to, so that you can get ready. Also log into the YouTube chat so we can talk and get questions from you on the topics that are going on for the day. And then viewing, you might want to set it to 720p 60 in your YouTube channel, so that that's the best quality there. And then be sure to check the comments out afterwards. After we post this, I'll have all the links. If you missed any of the links or you missed the download, you'll be able to download it and get the links in the comments of the recording. And let us know if you like this content or you dislike the content. We want to make sure this forum is for you and that you have, you're able to get what you need out of it by being able to see what's going on with your product and that it is related to your product. So this is the schedule coming up. We had ZRS reporting. We're doing ZSD 8.3 today and tapping into databases, some of the others, so that you can plan for them. And you'll see that schedule out on the ZENcast Live upcoming schedule and on-demand library that's out there. So if you check this out, you can see what the upcoming schedules are. And then if you're looking for the previous recordings, you could just do a search out here, Control F, and we do ZRS. And you can see that, just if you're looking for database or whatever, you can then see it out here. Okay, so that's for you. So you can look at past subjects. And the past subjects, a lot of these are built on the product, and the features don't really go away. So if we cover a feature, even though it may be a version out, you'll probably find some great information about it. Some of the new videos that we have out there, we have some German videos that Oliver's put out there about ZENworks Asset Management with ZCM. So they're in German audio, but the presentation is in English, and you can also follow along as he goes through the ZCC screen. So you can still get some details out of it of what he's doing, but he covers licensing, he covers inventory, and about 4 or 5 different areas, contracts and so forth. So for our German community, if you want it in your native language, it's out there, and we appreciate Oliver putting those out there. We also have how to put managed device into full debug mode for ZCM users out there. There's a new TID out there, so I wanted to make sure that this was out here. This seems obvious. Setting, it to full debug is in the ZAA, right? The adaptive agent. But we do get questions coming in occasionally about this, and as well as the primary server. Okay, so there's another TID out there for putting the primary server into full debug mode. Now remember one thing about going into debug mode, you can also set the ZAA on the satellite or the primary, and it will capture those other logs as well. So if you just go to the agent and set it in full debug mode, it'll capture not only the agent portion of it, but also a lot of the primary server stuff as well, the logs. There's also a Spring4 shell vulnerability released out there. It does not affect our ZENworks products, but it can confirm, in case you're wondering. We do have a couple of things about ZSD version 8.3, which we're covering today. It is released, some of the details, and some new features that are going into this product, which are, a lot of them are requested by you. We have a couple of videos, what's new, which is a walkthrough on these features, as well as the upgrade tutorial. And then we have, another ZAM German, that's duplicate of this one up here. And then again, if you look at be sure to go to the ZENworks Community Ideas and Exchange every once in a while, because there's some great ideas that we get for the products, and it's from you guys, right? From all of you that are working with these products, and we really do look into these. We wait for votes. Be sure to go through these and vote on them, because the higher the votes, the higher the visibility. There's discussion points out here, and tips and info, blogs, and each one of the ZENworks products in the portfolio has their own set of pages. Okay? So that's a little bit about the community. TTPs, Technology Transfer Partners, they do collaboration, community, and events. There is a survey out there. They're going to have a TTP Insights conference in June. So I'll be doing a presentation on Service Desk with that particular conference, and those are recorded, so you'll be able to go out there. But if you haven't been to TTP, go to thettp.org, and you'll be able to sign in and see what's going on in that community. And it's not just the ZENworks, but it's also a lot of the Micro Focus portfolio. So be aware that that is available to you. The Kupplinger analysts, Kupplinger analysts on, say that 3 times fast, on UEM, we were in there and how we performed with the overall UEM environment. So we appreciate those that have addressed those issues that you have about UEM and what the community overall has said. There's also other live casts, and I put the links in here. First Thursday, Robin Redgrave does a series, Filer, Groupwise, and Enterprise Messaging, and then OES and iPrint. And the first Tuesday, second Tuesday, and first Thursday, second Thursday, and last Thursday of the month. So he's doing a series also on some of the other community products for ZENworks. For the other products like Filer and OES and Groupwise. So be aware that those links are there. If you have those products, you'll have a similar activity as we do with ZENcast, and he does those regularly. Some of the event recordings, just so you know, we had the Universe early in the month, March, and there are some recordings out there. If you're looking to see about some product or features, be sure to check out some of these recordings. You can click on this and you'll get the link to register. All right. And then as we go through, let's cover some of the versions real quick. ZCM 2020 Update 2 is our current version. Remember, FTF 1004 is available on SLD, and this is you can actually do cumulative updates regularly for maintenance, your monthly maintenance or whatever. About once a month, they put out a cumulative update, and you're able to get the latest fixes and those types of things instead of waiting for an FTF or going out to the next version, waiting for the next version. The what's new is here. The cookbook is here for upgrading. ZRS 7.8 is available now. It was released with 2020 Update 2. And then ZSD 8.3 is available. There's the upgrade cookbook for that as well. We separated out the 8.3 from the 8.0 to 8.2. So there's separate cookbooks so that we can kind of tailor it and get it a little more confined. And then we have Desktop Containers 22.1 that's out there. What's new and README. So that's what's going on out there. Well, let's do a little recap of last week. We did a ZRS. We did an install of 7.0. We upgraded to 7.8.1. Some of the do's and don'ts. and that the trust store is automated now in 7.8. And then some ZRS connections. You can connect to the ZENworks domain, ZENworks audit domain, and ZENworks bundle domain, as well as service desk. So we covered that last week. We appreciate that you guys were here to view that. And if you weren't, you're able to review that on the recordings. All right, today's agenda. ZENworks Service Desk version 8.3 upgrade. We're going to do a side-by-side upgrade, prerequisites. There is a prerequisites to install. It's an RPM that preps the database. Backup of customizations, restoration of customizations, if you have any, documentation and backup plan. So we're going to get started. Then, so you know, the next version is version 8.3. It's scheduled to be released late August. So we will have some things like Exchange and O365 modern authentication, Azure AD configuration and login, and some more customer ideas from the Ideas Exchange. So know that those are up and coming, but let's go ahead first and let's go to I have a presentation out there, and we're not going to go through these slides because you can view this presentation in detail. And we want to get to the actual demo. But some of the things we're going to talk about, there's some good details in this demonstration. I'm going to buzz through these slides real quick so that you can at least have them on this recording if you need to stop the recording and view them. But there's plenty of things to remember. The most important thing that I want to make sure that is available is the bottom slides. But here's some reminders of things that you have to remember. Some things to verify. So if you go through these, it's pretty comprehensive. So be sure to take a look at this if you're doing that. Remember to back up your customizations only if you have customizations. If you don't have customizations in the web XML or the server XML, you don't need to back it up. It's going to be replaced and you won't need to restore any customizations. But do back them up from time to time just so that you have them in case you do an upgrade and you forgot. It's good to have those. You will be doing the prereq RPM, right? And here's a couple of things to take care of as far as installing that. And then after the upgrade, you will see it going through the script for the database. All right. So there's some details there. The most important ones, I think, are, like I said, are the bottom ones here. If we go to remembering that you can do your upgrades, if you're going from 8.2 or 8.2.1 to 3 is fine. It's a side-by-side, but you have to go, you can see here if it's an in-place or side-by-side and so forth. But beware that these are the most important ones, I feel, as far as upgrading. You have to go from 8.2 to 8.3, so if you're at 8.1, you got to get to 8.2. Okay, or if you're 8.0, you got to get to 8.2. And then some of the other details about it, we're now appliance only OS for 8.3 and 8.2. You can see it happened at 7.5 is when we turned over and no longer had an OS install. And then some database requirements. If you're looking at a particular database and you need to upgrade your database, then do your upgrade to ZSD. But you can see they really haven't changed much since. We did include 13x in this last version. So if you're using the internal PostgreSQL, it will upgrade. And that's why we have a side-by-side upgrade this time, because we're upgrading the database. And it's already pre-installed on the appliance, the 8.3 appliance. Okay, and then you have your hypervisors and so forth. So this is just a quick presentation to show you also some of the file customizations, where you'll find them, right? The server.xml, catalina.sh. If you've changed anything in those, you want to make note of them so that you can replace them. One note down here is don't copy them. Replace the text in them, right? You don't want to overwrite from a 8.2 to 8.3 because you'll be missing some formatting of CSS. Okay. I'm going to close that out because we're going to get started and going with our upgrade. We currently have this guy here. We're going to go in, we're going to go SD admin, super secret password. Oh, because I let it sit too long, sorry. Let's try this again. There we go. All right. And we'll log in. We can see we have some online updates, but since we're going to 8.3, we don't have to do those ahead of time because we're basically replacing the OS with the latest fixes and so forth. So if you do discover that you have online updates here, you don't have to do it prior to your upgrade. All right. You do have to do the RPM, but we're going to log into this one also. And you'll see this is the same thing. Let's go back and try again. All right, let's give it another go. And you'll see this one's 8.2.1, right? It also has some online updates that's required. It's registered with the online update channel, and it says, hey, you got some patches. This is what you do quarterly. They submit these out. So make sure that you check this quarterly so you have the latest fixes for the different components of your appliance. Now this is 8.2.1 already, but it also shows ZENworks 8.2.1. Let me get a little bit bigger view here. Don't worry about this. This is just for the 8.2.1, any new Service Desk release fixes or features that might be relevant. So don't panic if you see that, even though you're still at 8.2.1, because if we go to the other one, you could also see that this is 8.2.0, and you'll see that it too also has the 8.2.1 in here. All right. Should we run this, it will patch to 8.2.1. But on the 8.2.1 ones, if there's anything in additional details, it'll also load those. Okay, so we are here. We could see that we have an 8.2.0. This is the one we're going to be upgrading, is the 8.2.0. And so we're going to go ahead and pull up our appliance. And we're going to go ahead and log in. All right, and we can, we're actually going to go to the WinSCP. Let me open up WinSCP to transfer. Oh, I think I already did. So, but let's go through that real quick. WinSCP is here. Get it started. 82 login. Let me move this over here so you can see it. Okay. And so what I've done is I went ahead and went to my temp directory, and we're going to go ahead and upload the prereq. This is what you get off the SLD site. This is a prereq for 8.3, and it's one thing that you have to run. It preps the database and the system to make sure it has everything on the VA storage volume, so that when you copy that volume over and bring up the 8.3 appliance, it sees everything it needs. Okay, so we got that over there. We're going to now go over to here, and we're going to go CD temp, and we can see it's in here, Service Desk prereq. So we're just going to run that RPM minus IHV space Service Desk, and we're going to run that. Takes just a minute to run it, does some things, make sure everything's in place, and it's ready for the 8.3. We can now power this down. So if we went over to our, find my right screen here, wrong one. We go to here, and we're on 82. Yep, we're going to go ahead and shut down. Okay. If there's any questions, please shout them out. This should go ahead and shut down, but if you have questions, we'll answer them along the way. All right, there we go. Now I did fire up and already install the 8.3 just to save a little bit of time. All right, so 8.3 is loaded into my VM right here. And we can see we haven't done anything but bring it in. Now, one thing to note, I am using VMware Workstation. This is for test and demo. It's not supported on VMware Workstation any longer. It has to be on another hypervisor that's supported, like ESXi. Okay, just so you're aware. Let's go ahead and go to our 8.2. We can see our 8.2 is here. It's just about shut down. If we look at our settings, we can see we have 2 disks. All right? So the second disk is the one we want to copy over to the other location. All right? And we can see that disk is here. All right? It's always good to do a snapshot real quick so that you have the latest and you don't get those mixed up. So let's go ahead and do snapshot before migration, version 8.3 to version 8.3. Sorry if that's a little small. I'm just taking a quick snapshot. Now if I look at that disk, go to edit settings, we can see that our second disk is now 002. Okay, so let's go over. We're going to go into here and we have our 8.2. We're going to do our VMDX. If we go to VMDK, okay, and we're going to grab this one. Now for this instance, because we're using a workstation, it's best to grab these all. So for my test, I'm going to do that. We're going to copy these over to 8.3. Okay. And it's pretty much empty only because, for the sake of time, I don't have this particular system built up. But now that we've copied it over, you can see we're in the 8.3 location where the VM is. We're going to go over to our 8.3 and add another disk. So we're going to edit machine settings. We're going to add hard disk, and we're going to add an existing. Okay, we're going to browse to the location, which is the documents VMware 8.3, and it was disk 2, so we're going to select that one. Keep existing. That's a VMware Workstation issue. Let's go ahead and do OK. And let's power on this machine. I'm checking something because I noticed that it's a 40. I thought it was a 20, but let's see what happens here. It'll then power up and it'll start going through its OS install for the VM. And shouldn't take too long. So this is the part where it's loading itself. It'll do the check on the second disk also and bring in those particular settings. So it actually creates the identity of the 8.2 appliance. IP address, DNS names, transfers all of that over. Okay, it's going to have us go through a couple of things because it's a new appliance. It's going to ask us for our passwords for SDadmin and root. So it's going to come up here in a minute and ask us those things. But everything else you'll see, it assumes the identity of the 8.2 appliance. And it'll also transfer from the 8.2 database that's on VA storage and migrate that to the version 13 that's on the 8.3. Okay? Because you've moved that volume over, it'll take care of that. All right, so Oh, we got power off machine, the hard disk. So I picked the wrong disk, I think. So let me go in here, and I thought this one wasn't right. Let me go ahead and remove my second disk. Okay, let's go ahead and edit machine settings. Again, we're going to add a hard disk. And we're going to do an existing virtual disk and browse to, this is the 8.2. Unless the copy didn't work well. I don't like this particular, yeah, it's a VMware. I don't like that particular message. I didn't get that in my testing, so let's work through this. See, it says 40, and it's not a 40 disk. So let's go ahead and let's remove it. Okay, let's go on over to our 8.2. You can see that it's a 20. Okay, let's make sure we have the right location. So we're going to go ahead and go there, Control C. Let's go back. And so it doesn't, what it doesn't see is that we ran the RPM, or it doesn't see the second disk. So, oh, I grabbed the wrong ones. It's these I need to grab. Yep. So I jumped the gun. I needed to do VA storage, not the master disk. That's why it was 40. So let's go back out. 8.3. It can get confusing when you're doing, but it's always best to copy instead of move, only so that you can fall back. If something goes wrong, you can fall back to what you need, to your original setup, and figure out what's going on. So let's go back to 8.2. Let's pick the right ones this time, which are the VA storage. Okay. Copy. We're going to go to 8.3. Paste. Okay, those are coming over. Now let's go to our 8.3. Oops. Cancel. 8.3. Edit. We're going to add a hard drive. And we're going to pick an existing, and we're going to pick the VA storage one. Okay. The other thing about, now it should, yeah, that's correct. See that? Okay, so it'll appear once it develops. There's our 20 gig. That's what we wanted to see. Let's go ahead and power this on now. Should get better results on this one. So let's see if I can get this screen a little bit bigger for you. View and ZENcast. There we go. Should be better. All right. So again, that was one thing to notice. We got that error that said, hey, you need to add a disk, or you need the right disk. And so we double checked, and we did have the incorrect set of disks. So we copied the new disk over, and we should be good. We should be able to get the password, should come up for SD admin and root now. And we should be able to proceed into this migration. As we look, as that's happening, because it does take a minute or two, the password shouldn't take too long. After we put in the password, we'll go over to another service desk. See, there we go. Let's go ahead and put in our root password for this appliance. And you'll notice real quick, the IP address is already put in, all the DNS is put in. I didn't have to click enter or anything, right? Because it saw the identity of the 8.2 and went forward with it. So that RPM is critical to make sure you run that, or you won't get very far, all right? And then what would happen, excuse me, if you didn't run that RPM and you moved the disk over, it would say, hey, it's a brand new install, basically. All right. So it's going to configure the network. It's going to finalize some configuration and so forth. Let's go over to 8.7. I have my 87 machine. This one's a little bit different. This one is populated. Let's see if I have any. Yeah, it's this guy here. So if I go home and I go to classic service stage, we could have upgraded this one too, but for the time constraints, we wanted to make sure we could get it through for this hour. Okay, so we logged in. You can see the color differences here. So one thing I want to point out, let's go check our other real quick. Just before we go too far, I want to make sure we don't have any other prompts on our 8.3. Oh, we're up and running. So 8.3 finished. Okay, so now we can go back to our 8.3 and log in as admin. And we'll put in the IP address of 82. We'll do a login. See if it comes up here. So give it a second for Jetty to start up. Nada. Oh, it's still turning. Give it a minute. Patience, patience. Okay. It does take a minute for it to start up its services and get things rolling. The next, while we're waiting on that, we'll go back over here. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention in here as far as customizations and so forth. So if we go into setup and we go into customize, now I've customized these colors, right? I've customized it to be blue over when you hover over, yellow as a selection, and those types of things, all right? When you're going through the customization cookbook and you're changing these colors, all right, or modifying these, make sure you have the latest good one, because at any time, if you select default, it goes all the way back, all right? So if I select default here and I refresh my browser, it should change all my colors back. That's the customer portal. Now let's go to the technician portal. Let's go CSS, default. All of them will change back to its original. Then I have to hit save. Okay, notice the blue. Okay, so be very careful, and if you have something that you know is set, how you like it, before you change anything else, make sure you have a copy of it. If anybody selects that default, it will go back to the default. All right, let's go over to our 82. See if we have this up and running. Let's go to root. Okay, that's good. We got communication. Let's go back over to here. Wondering why we don't see it. Oh, I know why. In my VM, I've changed the IP address from 168 to 1.82 when it should be 44.82. So I need to, you won't encounter this. This is just for my test lab that I had to modify some settings. Let me go ahead and change that real quick and we'll be good. Didn't expect that. All right, so let's go Alt Edit F4. Edit. And this should be 44. I did a quick one to get it to work in my lab, so that's unfair for you guys in a sense. We'll go next. let's go to host name, and we're going to go 44.2 is there. See, it did that, and the routing is there. Let's see if the routing's there. Yep, okay. So that was what it was. Let me go ahead and do F10. Okay, Alt-O. Let's try this again. I switched networks from where I tested on, so that was kind of unfair for you guys. Let's go ahead and go back over here. Pull this up and see what's going on. All right, so we have it here. Okay, I'm not at home, so I had to modify this on the road here. So if I was on my ESXi, we wouldn't have had that issue. But here we are, we're at 8.3. You then obviously want to register your online updates. You don't have to carry over any license keys or anything else. They're all carried over just fine. You can see it'll ask you to register into the new channel. So this is the 8.3 channel. So when you go into your classic service desk now, it'll say, by the way, I need to run an upgrade task for the database. And it actually tells you here that it was successfully completed. Okay? And you can hit close here. And you should be able to log into the system just fine. So we'll go ahead. I don't have anything configured. All right. You can see there's nobody configured here. But there we are. Now, one thing about the slide presentation that I talked about earlier is make sure that it's best to do screenshots. I think it was up here for the backups, upgrade method, and then when you're going through and backing up, it does say take a snapshot of the server, which we did, right? And then this is post. Let me go to pre. Is there pre? Where's my pre? Upgrade method. Yeah, backup customizations. So make sure that you back these up and then take screenshots if you need to. And some of the screenshots might be the email, the critical things like email, ZENworks if you have ZENworks configured, if you have Amy configured, or single sign-on, okay, or password self-service. Take some screenshots of those in case something and it should be in your corporate documentation anyhow, right? So it's good to have that in case you're not there and somebody else is coming in, so that they can see what's going on and what the standard configuration is for this particular machine in case something goes haywire and they have to rebuild or something. The nice thing about talking about rebuilding, is you could actually bring up another 8.3. If we lost disk 1 of this setup, we can easily bring it up by carrying over disk 2 to another 8.3, and you're up and running. So the appliance, that's a nice thing about the appliance is those particular aspects of it. All right. I don't see any questions. We've gone through this with each upgrade, 8.1 to 8.2, now 8.2 to 8.3. So it's pretty much a good routine we got down. And each time we're actually getting better at having you not need to back up things like server XML and those types of things. So we're improving on that. We're trying to code it so that, because there's certain details we can and can't do with some of those files. So some of the customizations you do have to edit over. But again, if you do have customizations in a CSS file or in one of the XML files, make sure you don't copy and paste that file into the new appliance. Make sure you take those settings and edit the new appliance file with those new settings. Okay, that's probably the biggest tip about making sure this is successful, because everything else goes pretty smooth, and mine was only because of my environment here, and I apologize for that. So, but we're able to run through it, be able to see the different things that we were looking at. We did, make sure you back up the customization, restore the customization. I do have some reference material here as far as make sure you know that there's a service desk forum. We talked a little bit about this on the front side, right? You have home discussions exchange. Here's a way to customize your service desk customer portfolio or portal, customer portal from Vibo. Oops, sorry. And then we have the customization cookbook. Nice thing about this document is as customers ask, hey, how do I do this? We're able to get that information to them, and then what we do is we put it into this particular TID so that everybody can actually see what's going on in it. And this actually has links to the other TIDs. So you can go here and see all the other TIDs for customizing your particular system the way you want to. Migrating to the supported database. This is system configuration options, right? If you had certain details about system configuration options. The branding, whether you wanted to customize the portal login colors and logos. The login sidebar is a new one that Vibo put out there. Okay, so you can have the sidebar, and then you can also edit which ones of these are presented to the customer as well. Okay, so that's kind of handy. And then, we're back to the customization cookbook. And then there's some scenarios. Maybe you have third parties that take care of your printers, and you want to make sure you notify them of any service calls, right? You can, this particular TID will walk you through how to set up that particular scenario. Propose buttons to be present in notes. Some things about templates, of course, troubleshooting, right? And then, of course, the documentation. So this is really helpful piece of documentation here to be able to kind of just one place to focus on to see if you need to be able to get to those other TIDs and technical information details. Okay. So let's see, what else did we have on that resource guide? Again, the resource guide, I think I have, yeah. So on demand, we had that. Of course, the documentation is here. Why are you doing that? I want you up there. So we have the 8.3 documentation, what's new. Okay. We have an upgrade tutorial and a what's new tutorial out on the ZENworks Service Desk YouTube channel. It's going to keep wanting me to do this now. And that's obviously here, the what's new upgrade tutorial, similar to what we had, but in more detailed steps with that presentation. So know that stuff's there. I think we covered everything. Again, let me make sure that I have the PDF out there for you so that you could grab this PDF. Let's go full screen. Let me grab this PDF and go here, down to here. Let me put that in our chat so that you can grab that. All right, so that's our presentation for today. Go back to my notes. And we covered everything there to the lab. The next ZENcast topic is going to be tapping into the ZENworks database. And so if you have a ZENworks database, you have a service desk database, and you need to, a lot of the smaller institutions don't have that database administrator. So being able to have those tips and tricks on how to get into it, what are some of the commands, how do I get started on tapping into the ZENworks database, that'll be in 2 weeks, and we'll cover those details so that you can have the tools you need in case you don't have that ZENworks or service desk administrator for that database, if you don't have a database administrator. All right, and then you can do things and check out things on your database itself. That's always a fun one, especially the internal database, and you don't have a database administrator. And it's Postgres, so the syntax is a little bit different, and we'll cover those. But otherwise, I apologize again for the delay that we had this morning with my mic going out. I'm glad everybody's here. I hope you enjoyed this content and you got something out of this. Again, please, in the comments after this recording is posted, which will be later tonight, it will have all the links that we covered in here in case you missed some or you missed the download. The download of this PDF will also be there for the presentation. But I appreciate it, everybody here. Don, thank you again for your hints on giving me my sound checks. And I hope everybody stays safe, and we'll see you in 2 weeks, okay? Thank you again, everybody. Take care.